Okay, welcome to this introduction to the Level 4 Workplace Needs Assessment course. We'll have questions at the end and I'll stop the recording at the end. So my background, as I say, is as a diagnostic assessor. My original course allowed me to assess both adults and children, and I think it's sort of going back that way now actually, but so I have had 26 years of assessing adults and children. In my diagnostic reports, I will put in a recommendation for an access to work assessment afterwards, and then I do quite a lot of workplace needs assessments afterwards. So I also put on training and conferences as well. So lots of different things that I've been involved with, and I'm still passionate about raising awareness about neurodiversity, both in schools and workplaces. So if you are coming to this course without really understanding what a workplace needs assessment is, this is a really good start to actually think about why we need a workplace needs assessment and what actually happens during that process. And normally, these workplace needs assessments end with access to work support. But what I'm finding is a lot of them are being carried out privately by companies. The access to work is taking longer to actually put in place. Um, and so about a year ago, no, about 18 months ago, when I started off delivering this course, we were talking about 4 months. I'm finding it's nearer 12 months actually to get access to work. Now, for somebody who really needs that support, then 12 months is too long to wait. So lots of these companies, particularly the larger companies who won't get so much of the financial support towards the reasonable adjustments, are thinking, well, I'll put things in place ourselves for this employee. So we go into a company. It used to be in person, and now the majority of mine are all online actually. And we go in and we look at their job description. We look at what they need. We look at whether or not their job description has actually slipped from the original job to a job that they're now doing. And we make these recommendations. Now, they could be around assistive technology, and we may be recommending companies like Clearlinks. We may be recommending well, we will be recommending training on that assistive technology. Very important to have that training on assistive technology. I come across a lot of adults who have been recommended a piece of software and then they've never gone through with the actual training on it. And the first thing they'll say to me is, well, it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work because you've not actually done the training on it and used it. We might make reasonable adjustments, suggest about changes to work environment, about being able to work in a quiet room, use headphones. All of these things are free, low cost. A lot of companies are still a bit wary about going through the whole process because they think the recommendations are all going to be really expensive. They're not. It's often about a few pounds, moving offices, moving away from a noisy environment. I mean, Nikki, you're if you're struggling, with noise, yeah, that's the most common one actually.
Yeah, exactly.
So just allowing somebody to move away from where they're sitting. It could be around additional mentoring. It could be around workplace coaching as well. So all the things, Antoine, that you're used to going into to deliver, these are things that we will be recommending in our reports. So lots and lots of different things. The whole process takes around about 2 hours, something like that. And we personally, I always say they need to have something in place to start with to go on. So I always say that they need to have some kind of screening or a diagnostic assessment in place that I can look through to start with, and then start building up that profile of the person so that I can make the most accurate, reasonable adjustments for them. Now, one of the things that point out is this is a fairly unregulated industry. And and I have been working really hard to try and make it a bit more regulated. And that is one of the reasons why I went to PASH to actually get this accredited by PASH, because I think it's really important to have not only the OCN accreditation, but also a professional body attached to it. So, you know, again, I've been working with BDA. They're very, very slow about getting this accredited by the BDA as well. They have accredited my level 3, but they're taking a lot of time with this level 4. It's not that they're against it; they want it themselves. They also offer this course themselves, and in fact, I co-wrote their level 4 course for them. So yes, it's just taking a long, long time, and I really, really want this made into much more of a profession than it is. At the moment, technically anybody can go in and do these, and I see some awful reports, some really, really bad reports. Antoine, do you see reports from other organisations? Thank you.
Yeah, I was saying we see the other side of it when the recommendation has been made, and so for access to work, for example, we do get the funding letter, I suppose, that says you can have so many hours of, I don't know, specialist mentor or a job coach and assistive technology and all that. So we do see some of those at the end of it. We don't necessarily see the needs assessor report. That
Ah,
if it is shared, it's
right.
the choice of the individual. But
Yeah,
so we do see them sometimes, but
yeah.
it's not standards.
Yeah, and often they don't understand what they're recommending, because also if you're a workplace needs assessor for access to work, you are doing a whole range of different difficulties, neurodiversities, physical, all sorts of disabilities. Um, I'm trying to sort of narrow it down to neurodiversity so that people really know what they are recommending. I see a lot of reports where they're just sort of throwing in, oh, they need text help, read and write gold. They've got no idea what the person's actual needs are, but they've sort of clung on to that as a thing that everybody with dyslexia must need. So, I'm trying to sort of channel it into much more specialist profession. So day one, it's quite quick. Day one is actually on Monday. And in day one, what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at what neurodiversity is. And we're going to be looking at how it affects people in the workplace specifically. And then in the afternoon, we're going to be looking at the range of screening tools that are available for adults. As I say, having some kind of screening as part of this, I feel is really important. If you can't do a diagnostic assessment, well, you can do even if your APC has lapsed. But if you can't do that initial assessment, to a certain extent, you're working in the dark really with that person's strengths and challenges. So we're going to look at the range of tools that are out there to use, and it may be that people on previous courses, they've gone away and they've wrapped up a needs assessment around an initial screening so that they've had the most information that they need at their hands. And then day two, what we're going to be looking at on the 17th is we're going to be looking at what are reasonable adjustments. What are what's the assistive technology that's out there that will help those individuals? And Antoine, your knowledge is going to be really helpful there as well. So it's going to be the morning around reasonable adjustments, assistive technology tools, and then in the afternoon we're going to be looking at what are the steps of that workplace needs assessment, how do we carry it out, what are the questions we ask, and then after that you're given a workbook to work your way through. And part of that is putting together from a case study an actual workplace needs assessment that's marked externally by a very experienced needs assessor. Um, So 2 days, it's very packed. I'm not going to lie, it's a lot of information over those 2 days. There is a Dropbox, and all of the information for all of the days is on the Dropbox. There's quite a lot of reading to do, and maybe that you've come across some of these books beforehand, but you might. I don't know if that's coming out back to front, but that's the Adult Dyslexic. That's the David McLaughlin book. These are some quite good books to think about doing some reading. Succeeding with Adult Dyslexia, that's Carol Leather book. There's BDA book, Dyslexia in the Workplace. This one I just picked up for a penny from Amazon. I think I just paid for the postage. But Sylvia Moody, although it's old, there's still some very relevant information in there. So there's some good books around. Start thinking about pre-reading. And there's also the History of Dyslexia that came out. That's quite a good book as well to dip into, the Philip Kirby book. One of the things to do as part of the workbook is an essay. Now, those of you who have done an essay for the level 7, then I'm not going to know if you use the same essay, but we're looking at an essay that would be due in at the end of December, and I'll give you the essay title in a second. The rest of the workbook nominally is due in on January the 17th, but as I put there at the bottom, reasonable adjustments will always be given. I have had people who've had babies, moved house, moved jobs, you name it, and obviously neurodiverse themselves, additional time is always given, so don't worry about these deadlines being set in stone. I don't mark the work, although I will double mark work that there's a query over. And I was actually a tutor on the BDA course and the dyslexia action course. So yes, I'm well used to being a tutor and marking. And you get the results from us pretty quickly after you hand in your workbook. There's often a bit of a delay going to OCN London. They are very rigorous, actually. I do like their rigour. They do moderate the group. I'll have meetings with OCN and then they'll agree the results. So a little bit of a delay getting your OCN certificate, but they have never changed a result that we've given. If the work isn't up to the correct standard, it's not a pass or fail. You'll be given the opportunity to redo the bits that need to be put up to standard, and there's no charge for additional marking or anything like that. And there have been people who've had to put in another resubmission, but then they've passed. But it is quite a high standard, and we want those high standards. We want people to be able to go into the workplace feeling really confident about carrying out a needs assessment. So this is the essay title. You do have to sign that you're not using AI for the essay, but I'm editing a book, the Special Needs Journal at the moment, and AI is very useful for references. So I haven't got a problem with AI being used for references, but just not for the body of the report, the essay, or anything else. So in your own words, critically analyze one neurotype, explaining the core elements of the research that supports understanding of the condition. So choose one, could be dyslexia, could be ADHD, autism, any of those, and look at that in depth. Do the reading around it. It's 1,500 words. Level 4 is degree level, so we're looking at quite a high standard for the essay. But as I say, some of you may have some that you can dig out. And we've got quite a substantial reading list as well. So what we don't want to see is going on the internet and just sort of picking out a few things from the internet and putting together an essay. So try and do the reading behind it, and really have that critical analysis of it. So that is the very first question in the workbook. you hand in the essay first, you get the mark for that, and then you know you're on the right lines. And then the second question in the workbook is a very short question where you look at another neurotype and look at how it occurs. So, for example, if you have chosen dyslexia for the first one for the essay, you might be looking at ADHD and how it occurs with dyslexia. Okay. But before each session, actually, I'm sort of going more on Zoom at the moment because for I don't know, but so it's either Teams or Zoom. If anyone's got a real preference, then I'll use one or the other. You'll get the Teams link for the sessions. So for those of you who have done a level 7 for adults, you do not need to do the day one. I will give you accredited prior learning for day one. Now, if you haven't had training on screening tools for adults, then it would be an idea to be at that session unless you've got that kind of knowledge already. So we'll have a chat at the end about who's got what. Antoine, I know you're doing both days, but it may be that the others, if you want to carry on, don't need to do day one. I will send links to videos that go with the days as well. So I've got lots of information, training sessions that have been recorded, and links to those videos. There's nothing to prepare for Monday, but for the 17th, there is a little bit of homework I'd like you to do for the 17th. It's around picking out a recent tribunal that's been taken for a neurodiversity. So to just be prepared to talk about that, and also to talk about a particular piece of assistive technology. Because what I want you to do is sort of build up information on all of the different types of assistive technology that's out there so that you know what to recommend in a needs assessment. In the sessions, you may be completing work that goes straight into your workbook, and that saves you time as well. So you're expected to attend every session unless you've got that APEL for it. But I have had people who had difficulty. I started off doing this over 4 sessions, and it's now been put into 2 sessions. I think that works okay. But if you can't attend a session, then you can always join another cohort as well. The essay question needs to be handed in. There are tutor observations that I make during the course as well that I sign off. You complete the workbook, you complete the needs assessment. I give you a case study on a lady called Nisha, and you put together your needs assessment as if you had done that particular needs assessment in person. And then it's all marked externally and moderated. When you hand in your work, make sure it's in Word, and then the marker can annotate. If it's in PDF, then the marker can't annotate and give any kind of feedback. As we said, don't use AI, and there's a cover sheet for you to fill out with your cohort number. Some people on previous cohorts have come from particular organisations which carry out needs assessments. So I've recently trained up about 30 people from Genius Within, so they use their own template. But for any of you, you'll be starting from scratch and creating your own template. But on the Dropbox, there is so much information. There's probably too much information, but all of the information will be on the Dropbox. Lots and lots of different templates for things to then sort of start creating your own. As I say, I think this is something that is going to grow because of companies becoming more aware about their neurodiverse employees and how to support them. It's relatively cheaper for a company to do, cheaper than a diagnostic assessment, even if you charge for a screening on top. And it really does give them a roadmap where to go with that employee. I'm always around for additional support by email. I'm very happy to give a mentoring session as well. I also have a private Facebook group where people from all the other cohorts have joined, and there's information on that Facebook group as well, and it is a private group. So lots and lots of support to get through this. Um, I have had feedback that it's not an easy course, but they've really, really enjoyed it. And I think sometimes if things are too easy, then you don't want things to be too easy either, do you? You want things to be a bit of a challenge, and you want to go away feeling that you've got tools to be able to go away and start doing these. Um, so I'm always around, and I do even for people who've done cohorts. I've been running this for about 18 months, I think. So we've had about 100 people through this so far, and I still keep in contact with quite a few of them. As I say, I run conferences as well. If any of you can get to Liverpool, that's my next conference on the 20th, and that's a code there if you want to have a half price ticket. Antoine, I've already I know you can't make it, but any of you anybody else do think about this. I've got a handout of this I can send out to you all as well for your notes as well. But that's going to be quite a good one. And in fact, Antoine, next year I'm going to be doing a assistive technology conference. So I hope you'll be involved with that, maybe delivering at that. So that would be good. Yes. So that's going to be in Liverpool in April, because I'm coming across so many people who are specialist assessors who are putting recommendations in their reports and not actually knowing what they're recommending. So I'm going to be opening that out to lots of different people as well. Okay. Oh, let me just go back because that's got my email on it, but hopefully you've all got my email. I'm going to stop the recording now, and then we can answer any questions.